31-year-old woman, and for the past 12 years, I've worked 2 jobs, day shifts as a receptionist and night shifts behind a bar. I've never had a safety net, so I made one out of sheer routine and sleep deprivation. Bills got paid, groceries got bought, no vacations, no luxury, but I stayed afloat. I grew up in a quiet suburb outside Cleveland. Just me, my younger sister Laurel, she's 2 years younger, and our parents, until they split when I was 14. After that, it felt like everything in our family tilted slightly toward Laurel's side. She got to stay with dad longer. She got newer clothes, less pressure, more leeway. I stayed with mom and picked up after school jobs to cover small things, like groceries and the electric bill. I never called it favoritism. I just assumed Laurel had different needs and got lucky with timing. After high school, I stayed close to home. Laurel didn't. She got into a graduate program in Seattle for something communications related. She moved across the country and never looked back. I helped mom manage her early health issues and worked my way up from retail shifts to the job I have now. Not glamorous, but stable. Laurel, meanwhile, posted photos of team building retreats and winery weekends. Her captions were all about hustling hard and manifesting peace. I didn't hear much from her unless it was our birthdays or Christmas. When I did, it was polite but distant. We weren't close, but we weren't estranged either. It's just 2 adults leading separate lives. Over the years, though, people, mutual friends, cousins, even coworkers who knew her through LinkedIn would randomly tell me how sweet Laurel was. She always says you were her rock, they'd say. She talks about how you helped pay her tuition, how you gave her so much emotional support through school. Every time I'd nod and smile, even though it didn't make sense. I never gave her a cent. I barely had money to keep my lights on, and emotionally, I wasn't even sure what they meant. She didn't confide in me. She didn't ask for advice. We weren't estranged, but we weren't close enough for me to be her backbone either. I started to wonder if I'd forgotten something. Maybe there were things I did that seemed small to me but meant a lot to her. Maybe she was just exaggerating for effect, telling sweet lies to make herself look better by praising me. It didn't hurt anyone, I figured, so I let it be. Then, last year, everything shifted. Laurel called out of the blue. Her company had downsized, her lease was ending, and she had nowhere to go. She sounded calm, almost embarrassed, as she explained she needed a place to land for just a few months until she got on her feet again. I didn't think twice. I said yes. I live in a modest 2-bedroom apartment. Nothing fancy, just enough space for me, my books, and some peace. I told her she could have the spare room, and she showed up a week later with 2 suitcases, a few boxes, and a smile like we were back in high school. I helped her settle in, found a second-hand desk from a neighbor who was moving out, picked up a chair at a local yard sale, got her a set of plates, even though I didn't really need more dishes. She didn't bring much. Said most of her stuff was in storage. The first few weeks felt strange but kind of nice. We cooked dinner together, watched old sitcoms she'd forgotten she loved. She even took over watering the plants. It felt, almost for the first time in years, like I had a sister again. Laurel would drop lines here and there like, "It's so nice to be supported like this, just like how you always helped me before." It made me pause. I didn't remember helping her before, but I figured maybe she was just being sentimental. Then one night, we had a couple drinks on the balcony, and I asked her, straight up, what she meant when she said I used to help her. She blinked, smiled, and said, "You don't remember? Tuition, rent, those first few years in Seattle." I told her I never gave her money. I couldn't have. She just laughed and waved it off. "Well, emotional support counts too," she said, and changed the subject. But later that night, I pulled out one of my old journals. I used to track every cent I spent back then because money was so tight. If I'd sent her anything, it would have shown up in those logs. There was nothing. Not one payment. Not one transfer. No mention of a check, a deposit, a Venmo, nothing. Just bills, groceries, my half of mom's prescriptions. I turned page after page,